News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
IMDb, Amy, one of my favorite docs, 7.8.
Take that.
IMDb.
Which doc?
Amy.
She hasn't suffered enough.
I know.
Amy Winehouse documentary.
Yeah.
Well, I know Brian's been through a lot, and I don't mean to make it worse, but we do have some updates on Newsegate. So,
don't do that. Don't
I
do
know.
fake
I know.
news.
That was
Newsegate.
just for you. Newsegate. So Fox News reports, and we have a picture I'll show you, that NASCAR has released the first official image, because as you pointed out, we didn't have any pictures of this thing, of the garage door pull rope fashioned into a noose-style knot that was found in Bubba Wallace's garage at Talladega, and said that an internal investigation determined it was only present at the only one of the 29 tracks it visits. The discovery led to an FBI hate crime probe that determined it had been there since at least last October and was not directed at Wallace. Wallace, as you know, has been a vocal supporter of Black Lives Matter. He moved to have the Confederate flag taken down. Phelps, who was running this thing, said that the internal probe learned that the noose was not present at the beginning of October at the Cup Series weekend at Talladega, but was there at the end. However, he said there isn't enough evidence to determine who created it or why. The NASCAR investigation also looked at 1,684 garages. This was the only one that had this, and that is a noose.
Yeah.
Whether they're doing it for a pulley or not, that's the shape can't be denied.
No, it's both things are true. It's a noose, but it wasn't for Bubba Wallace. I think that's the story.
It's just weird that they said that it was there, sometime between the end of October and now, and nobody else uses that. It's not like, oh, this is the best innovation on how to pull down a gate. Like, why? We don't know.
I just, first off, we never really factor in the who cares factor. Like, there's probably I work with enough construction guys to know, like, if you just leave them alone in the back of a pickup truck. Speaking of traveling in the back of a pickup truck, one time we picked up some laborers and drove them to the job, and they were in the back of the pickup truck. And later on that day, we came to find out that the guys had taken the handle for, like, my foreman's cooler, like the plastic handle on top of the cooler, and they just carved it all up. Like, they just notched it all up because they're just, like, sitting there. Like, they didn't have anything to do.
Idle hands.
Yeah, idle hands. And this is probably some bumpkin guy who's just standing around, waiting for the rain delay or something, and he's probably just screwing around. Maybe it was a Cub Scout or something. He knows how to tie a knot. And he just did it. Like, see, what I'm saying is, like, sometimes the answer is no answer. Just like some dude did it, not with anything in his head other than I'm bored.
But when we have people like whoever's running Oakland and the guy going, it's me, I did it, it's a workout thing, going, no, we have to investigate, then this becomes something that ends up being looked at, needs to be looked at by comparison.
Talladega, Alabama, I guess, is different than Oakland, California. Or
let me check into that.
But that's probably a factor. Like,
defend your point.
And it probably, I don't know. I don't know how stuff works. I really don't anymore. Just as long as it wasn't fashioned for him, I think we can breathe a sigh of relief. Then, of course, bizarre luck of the draw that the only garage let's look at it this way. During the middle of the biggest racial tensions we've had in this country since Rodney King, and bigger, more, just longer and more spread out. The one black driver out of the 30 groups gets assigned to the one bay that has the noose for the handle. Think about how cosmically fucked up that is. I mean, there's one black guy. I don't know, Max Pato, what are there, 32 cars, 28 cars, 41 cars? I mean, there's 40 cars. There's 40 bays, one black driver, one noose, and he gets into that bay.
The stars have to align.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the middle of this. Think about
That's
that.
what I mean. All these
Right.
factors. Yeah, the time and the place and the environment. Yep.
Right.
Well, we mentioned the other day, but just to give a few more details, the 3 suspects in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery have been indicted. That's the father-son, Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael, and the other guy, William Roddy Bryan, formally charged with 9 counts related to Arbery's shooting death in February. The charges include malice murder, 4 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. The 3 were not arrested, and as you know, until the cell phone video became public, went totally viral. The defendant's attorneys say they thought Arbery matched the description of a suspect in a robbery in the neighborhood. Arbery's family say he was an avid runner, was out for a jog, but they've all been indicted, and many counts. And I wonder what. If you've talked to Garagos about this yet.
Not this one yet, but I'll put it on my list. I'll talk to him about it when I see him tomorrow. Talladega has 40 cars. 40 cars, 40 paddocks or garages, one black man, one noose. Boom.
Sounds like the trailer to a really bad movie.
I know.
40 paddocks.
Yep. There you go.
Although it does have that Occam's razor vibe of, the simplest explanation has to be the right one. But maybe in this case, it was just horrible luck.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, what I'm trying to say to everyone all the time, whether it's Katy Perry's shoes or the noose hanging on the thing, not everything is an attempt at something. Sometimes people just do shit that looks like shit, or it's random, or it's dumb, or it's whatever, but it's not all targeted. All right.
Well, I hate, as much as Brian hates Gate and on steroids,
but it's also kind of thing where it's like a white cop can kill a black citizen and not be racist. It can just be a cop killing a black citizen, just as a black cop can kill a white citizen, or a white cop, as we've seen with many of Garagos's clients, can kill a white citizen. Like, it doesn't all have to be something. It can just be bad policing. Sorry.
Yep, true.
Go ahead.
Agreed. I can't stand people breaking their silence. I can't stand people speaking out, especially you can't break a silence that nobody asked for.
Wait.
Yeah.
What's worse? Unearthed on something that formerly aired on national TV, a breaking a silence that we don't care about.
Nobody asked for.
Or an open letter. I'm writing an open letter to my unborn son. Who could we hang with less?
Unearthed is ridiculous because the things on Earth are widely available or were broadcast to millions of people.
I'm going to have to
it's
go.
Not like a childhood, drawing or something.
Well, even though open letter gives it a run for its money, there's nothing more narcissistic than breaking a silence when nobody's waiting to hear you speak.
Well, who did this?
This is the exception. I do believe this is a silence being broken, and that's why it was so interesting. Camille Cosby, who's been laying low.
Break that silence.
Yeah.
So this was my exception to the rule. She's given her first interview in 6 years. She's 76. She spoke to ABC News on Wednesday, the day after Pennsylvania Supreme Court agreed to review 2 aspects of Bill's sexual assault case. Camille says she's very pleased with the appeals court's decision. She suggested some things about the Me Too movement that I will play for you in a moment. So basically, and Cosby serving time 3 to 10 years after being found guilty drugging, sexually assaulting a woman in 2004. Here's a clip of Camille responding to the comparison between Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement.
Your voice to speak out on behalf of Black Lives Matter. Are you concerned at all about the blowback from the Me Too movement and those who have been critical of you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't care what they feel. The Me Too movement and movements like them have intentional ignorance pertaining to the history of particular white women who have, from the very beginning, accused black males of sexual assault without any proof whatsoever. No proof anywhere on the face of the earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's from Tammy Wynette. Stand by your man.
I know.
And it seems like, and I don't know anything about her. She says she talks to Bill every single day on the phone. That would be a line that I could imagine Cosby feeding her and saying, you know what, you should go on and say that the Me Too movement is racist, and here's why.
Did the drop?
It's a weird relationship to be that dedicated to a guy who is that dedicated to others. I think it's pretty old school. It's not maybe, it's interesting when so if you're with a woman who's kind of a contemporary of yours, then you could see it. Obviously, Weinstein's wife did not go down this road at all, right? Because what happens is when you're an old fat fuck and you marry a hot 27-year-old, when you get indicted, she's 34. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's not old school. She's new school.
She's not pot committed.
She's not pot committed, and she hasn't been there since the beginning. So, be careful with the trophy wives, because a stern warning shall be issued from this podcaster, which is everyone wants to date the hot 22-year-old, but later on, when you're accused and Me Too'd, she's going to throw your fat ass under the bus. Whereas Camille Cosby, you get a woman who's a little more seasoned. She stands by you.
76.
76.
And she, let's see, I could be getting this wrong, but didn't they meet when she was like a pageant queen, like a young pageant queen?
That's not the Bill Cosby I know.
So yeah, she breaks her silence legitimately and stands by her man.
It's funny when he sponsored the Willie T. Ribbs indie effort, the car had no sponsorship on it. So it just had Willie T. It had Bill Cosby's name on it and Camille. It says you can see when you watch that footage, you can see Camille Cosby just on the side of the car. There was no Coca-Cola or Kodak or any of that, Tide or any of that stuff.
And we appreciate that. However,
yeah.
So I have a run of stories here about things that are being renamed, given some sort of a facelift, and I'll run through all of them for you. Adam, I don't know if Natalie Maines herself contacted you about this to give you a heads up.
Yeah.
But the Dixie Chicks are changing their name. They are now just the Chicks.
But I find Chicks problematic.
I was going to say.
Well, it's a little problematic.
They should have pivoted harder.
Yeah, I think they really like ducks. Yeah.
What should we go with? They? Yeah.
They, yeah.
Sorry.
They. The band revealed the change with the branding for its new song, March, March. On June 17th, this writer, Jeremy Helliger, he penned an op-ed for Variety that questioned the trio's band name. Helliger noted the recent controversy surrounding Lady Antebellum, they're now Lady A, had netted basically a good amount of press for them. And he said the Dixie Chicks don't need to change their name to get that kind of publicity, but their silence has been deafening. This is a discussion we need to have, and they should be part of it.
Hey, can I say this?
Yeah.
First off, Lady Antebellum needs to be they, A, as previously stated. And another thing, could more people's silence be deafening? Because
that's another good one.
My issue
to be deafened
is
by more silences.
I have way too many douchebags talking. That's what I'm hearing right now. But I would love more deafening silence so I could fucking relax and enjoy my fucking life. So anyone listening, please be silent.
Me with silence.
Yes, please deafen me with your silence. Yeah, I don't. Does that? I mean, I get that cliche when it applies, but does everybody need to take a stand? I think we all know they're progressive, pretty woke, like good chicks who, they're down with all the good causes, right?
What else do we need to know about them? They were completely blackballed in this country by speaking out against the president.
Right.
They were canceled.
They were the original cancel culture.
Good. They're on the right side of history. We don't need to be deafened by their silence.
And did you guys, do you know the origin of the Mason-Dixon line and whether that's a racial thing or not? Because I have a little info on it because I didn't know. Because, I'm from the Midwest.
I was about to say, is Dixie in and of itself offensive?
Well, I did just the tiniest dusting of research because, we in the Midwest are like, well, that's north of the Mason-Dixon line or whatever. So it's kind of both depending on where you look. So apparently it was between 1763 and 1767, Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon were basically involved in this resolution of a border dispute involving Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Delaware in colonial America. Okay, dry as a bone, boring, doesn't get any more boring than that. Mason-Dixon line. It later became informally known as the border between the free states and the slave states. So the answer is kind of both, in case you were wondering.
Okay.
Well,
Splash Mountain.
My feeling is things existed before us, and that's fine, and that's history, and it's just history to me. It feels like history. I don't know the erasing of it. By the way, it doesn't get it to go away, just because you tear it down or rename it or whatever. And by the way, the renaming, I mean, they can't, when they try to name like Exposition Boulevard, Martin Luther King Boulevard or something, it never takes. It usually ends up, or freeway off ramp or something like that, or an airport or even a stadium. Man, it could take like 40 years to get people to get off of, I don't know how we're going to get off of, where are we trying to rename? Let's see, Columbus, Ohio. It's going to be hard.
Flavortown.
Yeah, it's good, but it's going to take a while for that shit to
Not
catch
for me.
on. Okay. But anyway,
Flavortown, Ohio.
What else?
No, you're right. So along the same vein, and things that, we many of us have been wondering about, I think, for a year or two. Walt Disney did announce on Thursday they are, in fact, changing the classic Splash Mountain ride for a completely reimagined, they're saying, amid the scrutiny of the ride's roots in the film Song of the South, which you cannot find anymore.
A listener sent it to me on DVD, and I watched it like a month ago.
Okay, only Brian can find it.
It's way more boring than you would think.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. I mean, I didn't find it very offensive. I found it boring and
a lot of tropes that aren't
very trope. And of course, it's set in this idyllic version. Well, they're telling this idyllic version of like the slave era, which maybe is problematic. But overall, it's just not a very good movie. It's boring.
It's not. I think we've all.
My problem with all this stuff is we're kind of learning from the statues is there is no good place to stop once you start going down that road. It's just there's not a good stopping point. You go, we're going to take this statue down, and then you go, well, what about this guy? Well, he was on the right side. Yeah, but he then blah, blah, blah. And you go, okay, let's get that too.
No, that's true.
It just kind of keeps going into team names and towns and streets.
We'll get there.
And pancake mix boxes and syrup. And it's just like there is no good place to stop. And as you know, it doesn't stop. It just goes. Don't you guys miss a more innocent time when we would just sit around and try to figure out who was gay? Remember that was that was a big part
BLB before Lance Bass.
Yeah, like when I was 25, it's like, I heard that dude's gay. That dude's Ricky Martin's not gay. That dude slays the ladies.
That guy's tons of chicks.
He's living the Vita Loca, dude. I don't know, man. I heard they had never seen him married. That's because he's getting laid too much, dude. I miss trying to figure out who was gay, right?
Simpler time.
Yeah.
Simpler time, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are giving it the reimagined look. It will now be dedicated to the 2009 film, The Princess and the Frog. That's the first Disney animated movie to feature a black princess. According to Disney, the redesign has been in the works for over a year, though no concrete timeline for its construction and relaunch has been announced, but it will be changing. This is one. How many times in your life have you heard the national anthem? A million? Sure. Didn't know this. The Tulsa Athletic of the Semi-Pro National Premier Soccer League announced it will no longer play the national anthem at its games. Instead, it will play Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land." Why is that?
Oh, is it Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Your Land"? Or that song is a response to Irving Berlin's "God Bless America," right?
don't know, you'll look into it. Love that. Way worse.
Well,
so
back in the USSR, as a response to the Beach Boys, like surfing in the USA or something. Like, I mean it. Like that. That's their response.
Really?
I love back in the USSR. Yeah, it was like their Beach Boys song.
Well, you know what we need to do? Neil Young's Southern Man is the response. Neil Young's Southern Man is a response to Leonard Skinner's. Well, come on, Dawson. Leonard Skinner's Sweet Home Alabama. I think.
Sweet Home Alabama was a response to two Neil Young songs.
Neil, other way around.
Neil Young's Alabama
Neil
and
Young.
Southern Man.
Hey, wait a minute. Is the black man appropriating our culture of a diss track? You know what I mean? Isn't that us? I'm sorry, but young rappers, that was us. This is going back to the 70s and the 60s.
You know what you may not know about that is Neil Young and Ronnie Van Zant had tremendous respect for each other. Ronnie, they both loved the other's songs. Mm-hmm. Like Ronnie loved the song Southern Man.
Right.
But for a very long time after Sweet Home Alabama came out, Neil could not tour the American South because he would just get hundreds and thousands of death threats.
That's interesting. So we got a Beach Boys diss track, or we got a Beatles diss track, I guess. And
that's more of a tribute.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, they are getting rid of the Star Spangled Banner, and it's because of the third verse of the Star Spangled Banner. Didn't know we had 3 verses. And here's what it says. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. Tulsa Athletic came to the decision that the song does not align with the club's core values. While this verse is rarely sung, Tulsa Athletic does not believe the Star Spangled Banner represents or unites their diverse players, fans, and community.
Oh,
did you know that existed?
Nobody knew. Another thing I'd like to do away with is fucking core values. Does everybody, you make travel mugs. Does your company need to have a core value? You know what I mean? Like, does every company have to announce its core value? I got a letter. I keep getting emails from Hydro, the guys who make my rowing machine, and they announce their core values to me all the time. Although they make athletic equipment. But okay, they have the core value. So I got the Black Lives Matter core value email from them, and then later I got the Gay Pride core value along with them. And today I got a that a boy, and I'm starting to think like it's such an interesting subject that everyone needs their that a boys now. Like you need.
It says now this is just getting silly.
It's getting silly. Now, I'll try to, Gina, you can try to read it. I can't read it from here.
Unfortunately, it's too fuzzy.
I'll read it. Let's see. 750,000 meters. Now, this is just getting silly. This is sent to me. You're unstoppable.
Whoa.
750,000 meters. Can you read the rest, Max Spada?
750,000 meters is almost unimaginable. But for people like you, it's anything but.
That's right. People like me, everybody.
Winners.
Who exercise for 25 minutes a day.
It's anything but, which is why you're able to achieve great things. And yes, this is truly a great accomplishment.
Oh.
You are among the few.
You got a new achievement day.
That's right. There you go.
It says hats off to you, but they crossed off hats and wrote socks off to you because you're getting a pair of socks.
This must really soften the blow of the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, Mike Lynch breathed a sigh of relief when I explained to him we didn't make the New York Times bestseller list, but do not fear. I've covered almost 1 million nautical miles on a stationary rowing machine. Yeah, it's a new world order. Like everyone needs the kudos for everything now.
Oh yeah,
always. Has core values replaced mission statement? Because you're not hearing a lot of mission statements anymore.
Yeah. You know what I miss?
Best practices, which I had really never heard before this year.
I miss a simpler time when everyone was just trying to accumulate Marlboro Miles. Like
Camel bucks.
You smoke enough, you can get a kayak. That's basically what I learned. Yeah.
Who needs a kayak less than a heavy smoker?
I don't know. It's a weird math. Dawson, you ever get any Marlboro Miles?
They were kind of big in college, and we always wanted to get the pool table or like the slick Marlboro windbreaker.
Right.
But you go through a point where you realize you're just collecting trash, and you don't feel good about yourself for smoking that many cigarettes.
Yeah.
And they all just disappear.
Get the gear.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
You should get the Stetson hat.
But they had some cool stuff.
I also like the sort of conceit of like, well, how else would you get a Stetson hat? I mean, what are you going to do? Walk into Nudies or some place that does outfitting and buy one? I don't think
Good
so.
luck. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, you have to smoke 1,400 cartons of Marlboro Reds. I mean, how else would you get a windbreaker? Or a dart? Or how else would you get a dartboard? I mean, let's be honest. You want to go down to Costco and wait in line? Like, I kind of get the stuff that says Marlboro on it, but the stuff that is just like a dartboard or a cowboy hat, I feel like you could find one of those.
It's attainable.
It's obtainable. Right. That's right. Frying
That's
pan.
Awesome. Yeah. A log stacker.
I was going to say a log stacker. Yeah.
I like
That's great. A bucket.
A bucket or a trough.
Is that a barbecue set? The red next
yeah.
to the pan?
There's it looks like a spatula and tongs. Like, again, Brian, good luck finding that.
Where would one find it? Where can I be expected to find that?
Well, you could
a flashlight.
You could scour the globe and come up snake eyes, or you could start collecting Marlboro Box and get your set in like 7 months.
I could name at least 20 of my friends who all collected Marlboro Miles, and not one who turned anything in to get anything.
Really? Because they all just died of emphysema before they could hammer it. Oh, you get a lantern, a sweater. I mean,
Is that a harmonica? The second from the bottom?
Yep, a blues harp.
Blues harp.
Blues harp.
Imagine what that thing would smell like when that guy was done.
What is that device? It looks like a breathalyzer, 2 down and 2 in from the left.
It's a
it does
rail
look like
rider's pouch.
Trail rider's pouch. Yeah. Everything.
Again, where could one be expected?
Had to have the theme. I used to love, everyone remembers the Marlboro Man, but the Camel Man, that dude was all over the place too. Not Joe Camel, but the Camel Man. He had
the Camel Man.
He had like a natural. He had like curly blonde hair. He was always he was in the middle of the desert. His Jeep broke down, and he'd just be standing there like smoking next to his broken down Jeep. Or he'd have his Jeep on a raft and be pushing it down the Nile or something. And he was all over those. Like he was an adventure guy, and he was on billboards everywhere in the 80s. And it was the Camel Man, and he'd just be smoking. Like, I got my Jeep tire. It's flat. I'm going to walk it into town, and I'm going to smoke. And it was always kind of weird to me. Like, it didn't signal achievement. Your fucking Jeep broke down, and you have to walk in. You don't have a spare, and you have to walk it into town. But he's going to smoke while he's doing it. He looked like Gordon Lightfoot, and he had like a I don't know what's off-putting about the blonde natural. There's something weird about the fro, like kind of the blonde fro. Weird to me, but that was the Camel Man.
Feels like a good time to recommend Thank You for Smoking, which depicts the real life Marlboro Man as played by Sam Elliott after he's broken down, dying of lung cancer, and they're offering a payoff to not talk shit about the company.
Such a great movie.
Streaming on Cinemax. Yeah.
Well, finally, in the name change department, we'll just round it out with this one. Renewed interest in a petition drive that seeks to have Minnesota's statue of Christopher Columbus replaced by another legend of Minnesota.
Jesse Ventura. Come on.
Oh, come on.
The initial petition launched 2 years ago urges that, quote, rather than glorify a man who wanted to extinguish Black and Native peoples, we should honor members of our community whose leadership we find inspirational. Prince represents Minnesota values and Columbus does not. So far, more than 10,000 people have signed.
Wait,
all right.
Prince got out at the right time because that motherfucker would Me Too'd 5,000 times if he was alive.
That's right. Let's put up a guy who wrote songs about coming and OD'd. That sounds awesome.
Darling Nikki's my favorite Prince song.
Oh, I hate all Prince songs. All right, but I recognize him as talented. Let's always make sure that we have the respect for the man's ability. It's just again where I'm at with all this stuff is you go, well, hey, old man Carolla, why are you against all this shit? And the reason I'm against all this shit is because I don't like power being taken away from people. And which is to say, if there's a statue or a plaque or the name of something and you think that somehow changing the name or taking down the statue is going to remedy whatever's going on in your life, that's dangerous, slippery slopes for me. I don't like that. I like everyone to feel, now, not be empowered by this, that, or the other, but actually have that feeling of we're in a good country, things are fairly level, and I'm going to go out there and kick ass. Like, I want that. And obsessing over the statue coming down or changing the name of X, Y, and Z, I look at a complete waste of time and also satiates. And it's a little bit based on, or it's a little bit, as I tell you guys, my daughter's getting pumped about going out for the volleyball team, and I don't want to bore you with the story again, but when my daughter thought she wasn't making the team because the deck was stacked against her or her coach didn't like her, whatever that is, it was going to ruin her. It would have. It would have ruined her on that sport. She wouldn't have gotten out and competed. She feels insanely empowered by going out. I know I said I don't like that word, but by practicing and working out and being with the team. And if she had succumbed to that, coach hates me, it's not even worth trying.
Why bother?
Right. Now, the New York Times, what they're doing to me, that's a totally different situation. That's documented.
It's a frontal attack.
But the deal where we keep beating this drum of the reason you can't do this is because of that is a dangerous message to send to anybody in any community. And I hope we can back off it a little bit, because the reality is there's no such thing as all things being equal. There's no such thing. I mean, you take a look at Dr. Drew. His dad's a doctor. He came up different, better than most. Had better opportunities than most. Became a doctor himself, probably in large part because his dad was a doctor. Still had to work hard to do it, but at 18, he probably had an advantage over 99% of Americans. But over me, well, for sure over me, but I had an advantage of over 99% of Guatemalans living in Guatemala, or 99% of Americans who came 150 years before me, and so on and so forth. Like it'll just keep going and going and going. My thing is, it's 2020. The reason everyone wants to come to this country is because we've done a pretty good job. It'll never be perfect. With that in mind, go out and kick ass.
Speaking of Dr. Drew and AdamCarolla, one of the things I remember listening to Loveline as a teenager, you guys would say all the time, reality on reality's terms. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this road may be harder, or yes, this task may be more difficult, or whatever it is. Yes, that's the reality. Now you must deal with it on reality's terms.
Yeah. Reality on reality's terms, and then you can go, but it's not right, or
it's not fair.
It's not fair, or it should change. I agree with all that, but here's my point: whose life is it? It's your life. I mean, you don't want to sit on the sidelines and wait for things to change until you get back in the game. Just go out and compete. And I worry that a lot of the tearing down of this or changing the name of that or the Dixie Chicks or doing whatever, it's all window dressing. It's fine. It doesn't help. And if it feels like it's helping, it's not. Sorry.
It's kind of a now what situation. Like, woohoo, we're celebrating, the statue's done. Right. Now what? Now what do we do?
Well, you just kind of move on to the next statue or the next thing. And then you blink your eyes and it's been 10 years of moving on to things and not just finding a mirror, focusing on what you can do. And I think there's a lot of examples of people in this country who come from other countries or other cultures, men, women, gay, straight, and everything in between, and have had a lot of success. So go ahead and look at their statue. Sorry, go ahead.
Well,
Gina.
this is I've not heard a story like this once since all of this started. So very interested in your thoughts. CBS News reports that an Oregon county has decided to make people of color exempt from its mandatory mask policy, citing the potential for racial profiling. The decision comes as multiple counties in Oregon have ramped up face covering requirements to slow the spread of coronavirus. Lincoln County's general directive requires everyone to wear a face covering in any indoor public setting or any outdoor setting where you can't social distance properly. But the county wrote on its website that, quote, people of color who have heightened concerns about racial profiling and harassment due to wearing face coverings in public are exempt from the rule.
Like they'll be thought of as a criminal?
Unclear. Other exemptions include children under 12.
Lincoln County is problematic to this podcaster. That's number one. Number two, I'd like, what's next? White people have to carry black people to and from their car. Like, okay, it's all good. Everyone's virtue signaled to outer space. But is this going to help? Like this notion of, hey, you don't have to do this. How's it going to work in a few years?
It can be seen as incredibly insidious depending on what your thoughts are about this virus, because those people could eventually be the ones that get very, very sick.
Yeah, or bring that virus back home to, God knows who.
Yeah.
There's also a thing of we're getting away from, which is the kind of, people say, I'm colorblind, and now that's kind of a hate crime because you have to recognize everyone's color and everyone's past and everyone's heritage. And that's another dangerous notion. This everyone needs to be recognized. The goal is for everyone to be treated the same and well. And the colorblind or the Martin Luther King, with he has a dream. That's the goal. That's the goal. This new world order where you have to recognize my whatever that is. That sounds good, except for we're going to break society off into that's gay and that's black and that's Hispanic and that's Asian and that's everything. And we're going to have a fucking society that has a bunch of groups, a bunch of tribes living inside of it, which is the opposite of what this country is. Other countries, Middle East, South Africa, Africa, the continent of Africa, they have a lot of tribes. It doesn't work that well. It's not good. The tribes don't end up getting along that well. They kill each other oftentimes. Yes, Brian.
I would also assume it's really presumptuous to assume that I would know, like, that one, let's just say one black person's history is the same as the others. I assume that everyone's an individual, has a very unique new, I'm sure, of course, they share things in common, but you know what I mean? Like, if you're trying to know someone's history, wouldn't it make more sense, it's insulting to not treat them as an individual who had individual, upbringing or experiences.
And it's also about values. If you think about a white person who's bald and about your age, and then the second you find out that they're a big UCLA fan and that they hate the band in excess, and
who is this animal?
They don't much care for the top shelf whiskeys and alcohols, and they hate they hate sushi. It's like, okay, you're out.
You created this devil in a lab,
right now. But what I'm saying is the second you run into a black man or a black woman who says, I like USC and I like going out for sushi night with my wife and we love Maker's Mark or something, you go, yeah, Yeah, I mean, it's obviously that way politically. It's the people who share your values. It's about values. You share their values. The heritage stuff is way overrated. Yes.
No, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. So I assume that Alonzo Bowden and Dag had similar aspects to their upbringing and their lives. It'd be incredibly presumptuous to assume they had the same history.
Yes, like they had and it's this thing. Look, I grew up. We had one rich friend. His name was Tom. He was our black friend, and he had a very different upbringing than I had and my other buddies did. And we never, yes, to presume, it's that the presumption is a bit racist right there. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a category for everybody. We're going to create a category, and then you can get in that category, and then we're going to live in a nation with a whole bunch of categories that kind of bump up against each other. And already you can see groups. I saw a woman online today, and she was like, why does the gay flag have the black fist on it? That's our shit. The LGBT and the transgender community, stay away from our stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's us. You're appropriating, like, already. Of course, there's going to be trouble because the red-haired ladies want to make tacos on a truck. You know, of course, this is never going to work out. All other nations that have groups, all they do is go at it. That's it. We already fought a civil war, right? So,
indeed.
I just like this country was sort of about everyone blending in and enjoying themselves and making hay while the sun shines. I'd like to get back to that.
Do you think we're in the middle of a cold civil war?
Yeah.
It's kind of what culture war is, right?
Yeah. And by the way, some of it is, not just culturally or emotional. Like, there's people spilling out in the streets and, putting their hands on people. Like, it's not what this country is about. And I always think it's a little racist and also kind of very short-sighted to think. I don't know about you guys, but I look at everybody exactly how they get me to look at them individually. Like, I don't have pre-existing notions. I have some pre-existing notions. As I've told you, the guy who does my dental surgery is a black man who likes to pump reggae music in to the surgical room. And when he first walked in, I was picturing an Indian guy, maybe an Asian guy, maybe a white guy. I had black guy lower on my list just because I had not experienced that. But the second he came in and was a good guy, an experienced surgeon, and he's done a few procedures, and he was very competent, then he is that guy. That's how I don't look at him as a black man. I look at him as a surgeon who I don't trust around my daughter.
It's fair. It's again, how he got you to look at it.
That's right. Look, you got to squeeze a joke in every once in a while, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to get back to that sort of meritocracy stuff myself. All right, one more, Gina Grad.
Sometimes jokes don't work.
All right, well, I've been sitting on this one for a couple of days, and this is, again, a real public service announcement to the gentlemen out there. A COVID-19 outbreak has been confirmed at a strip club in Wisconsin.
No.
It is called Cruisin' Chubbies. The Cruisin' Chubbies Gentlemen's Club. The health department reports 2 or more COVID cases have been cited there. So an outbreak, as defined by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, as 2 or more laboratory confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the same facility or associated with a single event. Everybody just be careful when you go to Cruisin' Chubbies in Wisconsin.
Is Cruise... Hey, buddy! Help shove some cheese curds. Grab a paper plate and sort of get a semicircle around here. Big Ed, who used to be known as Big Nick, who's also Big Josh. I don't know why he changed his name. I think he had, I don't know, his IRS situation. I digress. By the way, we have a businessman lunch going on noon to 3 every day. Cruising Chubbies. Now, first off, we don't spell it cruise like cruising. We spell it more like, you know what, let me get back to Big Nick, Big Dave, or Big Ed. He changed his name a lot. Anyway, came down here. He got himself a hellacious lap dance. And I mean the kind of lap dance that you only find at Cruising Chubbies. Contracted, he got crabs. Well, let's not get sidetracked here. He got crabs. He got herpes. He got I don't know what a polyp is, but anyway, he also contracted this Wuhan flu. I watch a lot of Fox. What do they call it? Kung flu. What did he say? What's that, Stevie? Oh yeah, he got the COVID-19 over there, and as you know, he's a big man, and I don't know. I'm not a surgeon, but evidently the ventilator. You know when you say you swallow something and went down the wrong pipe. Well, that's what happened to Duke. Big Duke. Well, his name was Nick. He started. We know him as Big Dave, but anyway, I don't know what it says on his license. Goddamn, when I used to work as a bouncer here, I used to check his license, so I've been here that long. Anyway, again, pull up some cheese curds and something that's pickled. Come on there, grab and eat. Let me take a little business here. Jade, Stage 7. Now, remember, we got the sneeze guards up there around there, so we ain't commingling with the juices up there. But he's gone. And we'll need to social distance unless you're getting a hand job, in which case, obviously, we're not going to be able to pull that one off, pardon the pun. All right, sorry.
It's my greatest contribution to the show.
I love that goddamn thing. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
Oh, you got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.